one more very important difference that we're making in this version 2. So hardware wise, we're only making 2 changes really. We're using a different LED strip, which is more dense, yet the LED SMD chips themselves, they're smaller. And I chose to use rather protruded micro switches than the small ones. And I'm going to change the way I actually secure them, because using super glue, it really messes up with the mechanics of the DPDT switch. I think they're called DPDT. So yeah, instead of super gluing them, I'm gonna melt them in place using some more filaments. I think that would make much more sense, and instead of having to wait for the super glue to dry, it would just be much more quicker as well. So to do this, I can actually, so I already connected them, and I checked it with a multimeter as on the continuity mode to check that that is on while it's up, off while it's down. So I already got the pins connected to the correct wires. So I've got 4 pins that are spare. You can see there's 4 pins there. So what I'm going to do is, first I'm going to use that little jig that I made for measuring it, for the placement. So it's supposed to go here. It could go slightly closer to the LED, to the blade diffusion area, and it's not getting close to it. It's because these pins are in the way. So I'm just going to shorten them slightly. I'm not going to get rid of them completely. I'm just going to shorten them. Okay, so there we go. Shorten them slightly. Get rid of that excess, and check it with the little jig that I made. There you got printed out. So it would be around here. So what I can do to fixate it like this in place, I'll use, hold on a second, what's going on? My phone's going off, and that was a multimeter going off. So I'll still use clips to secure it in place for now, whilst I melt it in place. Let's just get some clips. I've got one clip here. And for the first one, no, not for the first one, for first step, I guess, I'm just going to melt the bottom pin. Actually, before I do that, I'm just going to actually move that little pin just down a little bit. So I'm just going to grab it and twist it slightly like that. You can see I twisted it slightly down a little bit, just so I could melt the plastic on top a bit easier. And I can also melt the plastic on top of these wires as well, as long as we don't hold the soldering iron on top of the metal for too long. It shouldn't melt the joints. We just want to basically melt some filament on top just to secure it. And obviously I'm using the same filament as this material, which is PETG. So just the one pin that I want to secure for now. And it is a bit awkward, because I got very little bit of little spacing there, to be honest, but it still should be doable. Let's give it a try. So I haven't actually done this before yet, so this is going to be my first time doing it. So again, any excess solder, any excess tin of the soldering iron, and then just going to try to get in there. Maybe I should redesign the jig so it's actually a bit easier. But to be honest, this is rather easy actually. And on top of the wires, as I mentioned, without actually getting to the wires themselves, don't want to melt the wires. And be aware of where that chip is going to go as well, so we can't take up too much space. So now let's reveal it. So obviously it's not fixated yet enough. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to check the positioning of that. Hold on a second. Che, that's wires. You don't eat wires. It's my cat trying to eat wires. Okay, so check the positioning where the switch is going to be, and it looks about perfect. Maybe a little bit higher, and then we can melt some more plastic. But this is in the way, so the blade is a little bit in the way. Hold on a second, my cat is still chewing wires. Gee, no, out. Okay. So how do I do this without getting the blade? So I haven't glued the blade in yet. I could lift it slightly actually, yeah, that should do it. Just to get it out the way. It is a bit finicky, and I use that word a gajillion times, but this should be much better than super glue, because it's just not worth risking breaking the functionality of the micro switch. It's still rather awkward though. Maybe I should do this before, or I could. Hold on a second, let me just do this, not talk. To be honest, this is quite nice, yeah. And then we'll just keep switching side by side until we'll feel like it's a good fix. Like it's fixed in place nice. And see what I'm doing? I'm now just pushing it against the base, whilst at the same time focusing to not actually attack the solder, melt the solder. So let's check how this functionality feels. I mean, that feels pretty solid. Yeah, I think that's good to go. Yeah, that's much better than super glue. I mean, that fixate is sitting in place better than super glue, I think, whilst retaining full functionality of it. And check it one more time that it fits correctly, that the whole alignment is perfect, which it is. Could be a bit higher there. I see it's already fixed in place, so is that good enough, or do I need to adjust it? Because that it's like 0.5 millimeter off center. I'm not sure you can see. It could be a bit better. Do I want to mess around? Don't really want to mess around, to be honest. I'm quite happy with that. I could just make the button slot wider so it has some play in the room. Yeah, I'm gonna leave it like that because I don't want to mess around with the micro switch. It's just like the most finicky part. Yeah, I'm gonna leave it at that.